Hey folks, happy Wednesday. Welcome to this brief time of devotional March 2023 prayer calendar. The word for this month is prayers. And this week we're thinking about praying for our enemies. So the two passages that we have, Matthew chapter 5, verse 38, starting at 38 and going to 47, and Luke chapter 23, verses 32 through 38. And today is Wednesday, March 22nd. The prayer prompt today is this: Jesus said, love our enemies. Really? How about we just ignore them and do no harm, but love them? What would it look like to love the enemies in your life? There's a lot there. Let's start with the do no harm. You might be familiar with John Wesley. He's a founder of Methodism, and he had three simple rules for Christianity. Do good, do no harm, stay in love with God. Staying in love with God had to do with sort of practicing your spiritual life. So praying and having communion and going to worship and serving other people. So do all the good you can, do no harm, and stay in love with God. And maybe that's one way to think about our enemies, but Jesus pushes us even farther, right? It's not just about doing no harm. It's not just leaving them over there and doing nothing with them, but to love them and to pray for them. And so what would that look like? And let's just start. I mean, why do that? Theologically, I think the place we begin is understanding that we are the servants of God. We are sent by God into the world. And it is through us that God has an impact in people's lives. And so if we isolate ourselves from anybody, then it lessens the impact that God might be able to have on their life, right? And not that God can't use other people, but it's one less resource on their life. And I think Jesus would have really talked, if he was pushed about this, would have talked about perhaps the ways in which we are present as disciples in one another's lives, and that God uses our gifts to mold those people. And by leaving them out, we are essentially saying that we don't care about them and that God doesn't care about them. Now, they might be our enemies, but it appears that other than evil itself, that God doesn't have enemies, that we may not like those people, but God loves them, and God still wants their lives to be touched and transformed. And so therefore, we are called to stay in some kind of relationship with them. Now, that being said, if there are people with whom you do not feel safe, we're not encouraging you to be in continued relationship with them. You might pray for them from afar. But there's many people who we might count as enemies or adversaries that we're perfectly safe with. We just don't like them for whatever reason. And the encouragement in those relationships is to draw close, that we might love them and be a part of loving them into who God calls them to be. And we are hopeful that other people might grow near to us. I want as many people as possible around my life so that God can work through them to draw the best out of me. That's our hope and our prayer for you, for your loved ones, for your enemies. God bless. Have a great day.